Hi friends, hi professionals, Simone here, and welcome back to my channel. For those that have subscribed, a huge thank you. I'm seeing the numbers going up and I'm actually thinking that you are interested in hearing what I have to say. Well, today's video is a bit of one of the viewers' requests. I've been asking for comments and I've been getting comments. Not all of them on my YouTube channel. I do have a LinkedIn page and I'm also on Twitter. So I'm getting questions and one of them is in relation to my online course. Well, before I jump into that, let me actually get my disclaimers out of the way. I am a financial services regulator. I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a financial advisor. And the views on my channel are my own. They do not represent any regulatory authority or international standards setter. So don't take it as legal or professional or any kind of other advice. We're just here having a discussion. So with that out of the way, let's dive in. So one question that I got recently from a compliance officer was, how do I develop training? And I'm thinking the question was more in line with them trying to develop training for their staff, the staff in their organization. They do work in a financial institution in another country. And so I decided, well, it's a good question, so let me answer it here. So one of the things that I think is important is to give some context. I've developed online courses. Shameless plug, Ignis Solutions Limited is my company. In the description below are the links to the two courses on customer due diligence and on being ready for an on-site inspection from your regulator. But beyond that, I've actually taught courses in compliance, governance, risk and compliance, AML, CFT. I've developed things for online conferences. I actually wrote 3 modules of a masterclass that was very well received and picked up in an international report, which is why I think I might be in a position to speak on this. So if you have staff and you're a compliance officer and you need to train, and you're training the staff every year, at least annually, it's a requirement to train them annually in most jurisdictions. Sometimes you need to train them more than that. It becomes difficult to develop new material in terms of training the staff. The first thing that I would tell you to do is identify the objective of the training. Is there a particular weak area that you need to focus on? Are there new staff? Is it that you've trained on something, but based on some of the issues that you're seeing in the firm, it's clear that staff may not be getting it? So the first step is to actually develop the objectives of the training. Now, once you've developed the objectives of the training, you will need to break down the topics to cover those objectives. And let's just say you're looking at taking on new business, right? You're looking at a new line of business or providing a new service. You're going to have to look for the risks and issues, typologies in relation to that new line of business. You are going to have to look at what is acceptable for taking on that business, what business you shouldn't take on, and why. And then if you're applying AML CFT, it's pretty easy, in my mind at least, to figure out what areas you should address your training to make sure that you plug in the gaps. It doesn't have to say and scream at you AML, CFT, and PF, because sometimes we forget there's proliferation financing. But when you're reviewing these things, you have to get a little creative because staff can get a little bored with the training. So once you've developed the topics that you're going to cover, you need to develop then how you're going to deliver it. And no one wants death by PowerPoint. I've done a lot of PowerPoint presentations, and by themselves or with the wrong person delivering them, it can be painful. People may be looking to just ditch, take a nap. They might be on their phone, messaging their friends, doing something else except listening to the training if they're not disciplined or if the training is not interested. So you have to incentivize your staff to actually engage in the training and soak up that information. How do you do that? I use analogies and I use real case examples. But then after you've delivered the training, you might want to actually have a discussion with the staff. Now, a lot of people will stand up, deliver training, and they speak at the staff. They speak at the people that they're training, and they don't typically engage. And so there's a miscommunication. In a prior video, I looked at the effective traits of compliance officers, and I'll put a link to that video in the description below. But one of the things for an effective compliance officer is to be an excellent communicator. And that includes in delivering training. Sometimes you have to recognize that people might be tired of hearing your voice. And so it's good to bring in someone else to deliver that training. You can reach out to your regulatory authority in your jurisdiction. Some jurisdictions have regulators that are quite happy to engage in wider training, or your financial investigations unit, or law enforcement that is touching financial crime. It's useful to get some of the other players so that you can get different perspectives. And to me, that adds a little depth to trainings that are being developed. So we have objective, we have the areas that need to be covered, we know what we want to do. In developing the training, you also need to look at the timing. Now, the timing of the training is twofold: when and how long. When, don't train your staff when it's the end of the day and everyone might be looking to get out. And this goes for virtual training as well, because with the current global circumstances, people may have to attend or work remotely and the training may be virtual. Nothing is wrong with that. But I think it is useful to understand when people will be more receptive to the training. So find a time that works for staff in terms of the interaction and the engagement that you definitely need for the retention. But also when during the year. I've seen compliance officers decide to deliver training at critical high peak volume times for certain businesses. Now in some financial services institutions, certain activities are cyclical. When you get to a quarter end, for example, in banks and some other institutions, there may be a lot going on and the staff may not be as engaged in the training as you think. And I know that there are automated training provisions that are available that allow staff to do it on their own time. And then if it is that they don't do it by a certain time, it expires and then there's a warning that's sent up to management. Is that really effective if it's being done at a point in time when they have other demands on them? Probably not, especially if you're not giving them concessions to do the training. And one of the things that I would recommend to compliance officers when they are developing your training, do it yourselves. Actually sit down, like record a bit of the training and sit and listen to it as if you are receiving the training. That helps you to refine the training and make sure that the content is exactly what you want it to be. Now, the last element of that is testing. A lot of jurisdictions require you to test staff on the training received. And the testing can come in different formats. Now, a lot of people like multiple choice. Checking the box doesn't work for a lot of regulators. And statistically speaking, there are a lot of cases where tests can be made so easy that if you blow that test up and you put ink on a dog's paw and you allow them to just cover the boxes accordingly, one per line, they could probably pass the test. That's not the type of test that we're thinking about. You need something that actually test the knowledge, for lack of a better word, interrogate their knowledge to see what they've retained. Mystery shopping is also good. So if it's a new product or service that you're offering, have someone come in and mystery shop and do all the things that you said in the training that they should not accept and see who accepts it. I quite like mystery testing because it keeps people on their toes and they never know when it's going to happen. But there are other ways of testing, and if you have used others to great success, just drop it in the comments below. But for me personally, I do like the interaction. I like to have the dialogue going to see whether they retain the information. And another difficult point in relation to training is training of the CSuite, executives, the board of directors, senior management. These are people who are supposed to be pretty sharp on their A game, including on AML CFT matters. The problem comes in training them because they have a wider knowledge than some of the staff in most cases. And so you can't give them what is money laundering as a test question or what are the 3 stages of money laundering. For someone who's been in financial services for decades, that's just a non-starter. So you need to look at how you're going to train your C-suite as opposed to the rest of the staff, because it's supposed to be tailored according to their needs and their exposures and the risks that they present. And so that in itself takes a bit of work to train the C-suite. And if you want to see me cover that, then you know what to do. Drop it in the comments below, and I'll consider whether I should dive into it. Now, one of the reasons that I think it's important to talk about training, it's something that I've worked on, it's something that I'm passionate about, I've said that a few times. And why my courses? My courses are designed because of exactly some of these issues. We have a lot of people out there who are very well qualified. I'm well qualified. But what I've seen from my experience are that financial services professionals and compliance professionals are often challenged in terms of their actual experience. And so applying their knowledge is difficult, especially when they don't yet have the experience in that particular field. And so unfortunately, sometimes they make mistakes. And as a regulated person, which compliance officers are, it can be dangerous to make a mistake in applied compliance because it could mean being removed, disbarred, sanctioned. It could mean enforcement action for the firm, administrative penalties. There are a lot of things that can go dreadfully wrong even when you're trying to get it right. So that is part of why I developed my courses, to help you prepare for an inspection and to help you understand what are the pitfalls in actually carrying out customer due diligence, also known as KYC or Know Your Customers. These are things that I've seen. These are things that have been discussed widely and publicly, court cases, media cases, reports, and people want to know how to get it right. Training is a small part of it, but if there's another part of the compliance equation that you want me to speak on, definitely drop it in the comments below. Follow me on Twitter, look for me, connect with me on LinkedIn, and definitely subscribe. Hit the notification bell because I will be coming back with a lot more videos. This is a topic that has a lot of room to cover. So with that being said, I'm gonna end it here, and I look forward to seeing you guys on my next video.